Okay, so let's begin and talk about what's new in the SAP BusinessObjects BI 4.0 suite. So as I've said, it's the latest major release. So it actually went into general availability only in September of this year. It's also a 64-bit release. So in prior releases, 64-bit operating systems were only supported on certain platforms. So with BI 4.0, the entire platform, regardless of the OS that you choose, is a 64-bit platform. Now the client tools are still fully 32-bit, so those will go anywhere in your organization, and of course those are on Windows. But regardless of your server OS, this is a 64-bit release. And some of the goals of the BI 4.0 release was to make sure that the Business Object Suite could provide a 360 view of your information, really regardless of wherever it is. So there have been some significant improvements, particularly in the way that the Business Object Suite deals with data from SAP. And then lastly, another theme is that the user interface has been unified. And so there's been careful attention paid to provide a consistent user experience regardless of which of the 5 primary user tools that you're using. And of course you can see them listed here. So Crystal Reports is the tool generally used for pixel perfect and operational reporting. Of course, Web Intelligence is the preferred tool for doing ad hoc query by business users, not necessarily technologists. The Dashboards tool, formerly known as Excelsius, allows you to deploy dashboards and scorecards throughout your organization. You can do OLAP using the new Analysis tool. And this is the spiritual successor to the Beck's Analyzer tool in the 4.0 suite. And then lastly, innovative tool called Explore. And Explore is designed for the casual business user, and it provides the ability to search and explore business data with a minimal amount of training. So again, there's 5 different tools, and each has their unique place in the architecture, but again, there's been an emphasis on harmonizing the user experience across all 5 tools. Okay, so architecturally speaking, there are a lot of capabilities in the BI 4.0 suite. So in the bottom right-hand corner, there are a set of applications devoted to enterprise information management. So things like data integration, otherwise known as ETL, data quality, and metadata management. Over on the left, which is where we'll be focusing most of our time today, is specifically on the Business Intelligence Suite. And there are other components as well related to enterprise performance management and governance, risk, and compliance. But again, our purpose today is to really focus on the business intelligence portion of the Business Object Suite. BI 4.0 has provided us with a number of product name changes. So allow me to go through these briefly. So the tool previously known as Excelsius, the dashboarding and scorecarding tool, is now simply known as SAP Business Objects Dashboards. And the dashboard builder, to avoid confusion with the renamed Excelsius, is now known as BI Workspaces. XI. And so with this release, SAP has dropped both the words enterprise as well as the XI moniker. And so the official name of the product suite is SAP Business Objects Business Intelligence Platform 4.0. And so that's quite a mouthful, and that's why we commonly just shorten that to BI 4.0. So lastly, in the bottom row, the Universe Designer just receives a slight name tweak. It's now known as the Universe Design Tool. And the InfoView portal, which is the primary business objects and user portal, not to be confused with the SAP portal, InfoView is now known as the BI Launchpad. And of course, SAP provides capabilities that allow you to customize it. So you don't want to call it the Launchpad, you can actually brand it for your organization. There's also some new products in the BI 4.0 suite. The primary one being the information design tool. So the information design tool, it allows users to build the semantic layer in a different format than the legacy format used by the Universe Design Tool. And so we'll be talking a little bit later about how both of these semantic layer tools are part of the BI suite. There's also a tool known as the Upgrade Management Tool. And so the Upgrade Management Tool is a brand new tool, and it replaces the Import Wizard, which is no longer part of the suite. So the approach now is that we use the Upgrade Management Tool in the context of doing an upgrade from a prior version of BusinessObjects. The other capability frequently used for Import Wizard was the migration of content through a software lifecycle. And of course, beginning with XI 3.1, we saw the introduction of the Lifecycle Manager. And so this product is retained in BI 4.0, and it's enhanced. So this is going to be the primary tool that you're going to use to move, say, from a development environment through to a quality assurance environment, and then finally to production. There's also the Translation Management Tool, which allows you to do language translation, so you can, global organizations can support the semantic layer in multiple languages. And then, of course, there's the Report Conversion Tool, and this is used to migrate the legacy desktop intelligence format to the web intelligence format. So why implement or upgrade to BI 4.0? Well, there's typically three scenarios. There's customers that don't own any SAP apps at all. There are customers that exclusively use SAP for their ERP as well as their data warehouse. And then, of course, there are organizations that have a blend of both. And so, so all three of these types of organizations can benefit from the upgrade. So some of the key benefits are better access to information. So there, and that is primarily with the new semantic layer. It's also enabled through the improved connectivity to SAP, and of course the single consistent user experience that we see in the design of all the 5 end user tools. So there's a new authoring environment, and particularly with regards to the semantic layer, an emphasis on making semantic layer design more of a team sport, whereas with the current tool, it tends to be more of a solo activity. So definitely want to take advantage of that. And again, the look and feel of the application has been harmonized. And since several of these tools, like for example Crystal Reports, were originally obtained through acquisitions, there's been careful attention paid in this release to kind of minimize the distinctions between the acquired tools and again provide a harmonious experience as users move from one tool to the next. Another key benefit of this version is new charting options. So there is a completely new charting engine, and not only is there a new engine, but it is shared across all the applications. So for example, in prior releases, you might be tempted to use one tool over another. For example, maybe a Crystal Report tool for a particular report, because Crystal was the only tool that supported the chart style that you needed. And so now that the same set of charts are not only much more attractive, but also available across tools, it really allows you to concentrate on other decisions when choosing which is the appropriate tool to use. So there's improved lifecycle management in this release, and again, that comes from the unified platform and the integration of the tools. Self-service access has been improved, so the BI Launchpad is not only a renamed version of InfoView, but it is dramatically improved to simplify access to BI resources, and it also provides a new and improved platform search so that users can find the content that they need really without having to be aware of where it's stored in the BI system. So similar capabilities in the BI suite that we're used to seeing with the Google search tool, for example. Also in BI4, we have the ability to personalize information consumption, so users can tailor their portal to their own interests, and of course we can also personalize the delivery and discovery of data. Lastly, a key feature of BI 4.0 is the ability that it brings to take business intelligence to your organization's mobile devices, such as the Apple iPad tablet. Okay, on this slide we see the multiple data access methods that are available, and I'm not really going to focus on the details in today's presentation, but at a high level, this shows the 5 different tools that we've talked about, so Crystal Reports, Web Intelligence, Dashboards, Analysis, and Explore. And you can also see that they're all capable of connecting to your information wherever it is. And in some cases, we have multiple methods of access depending on what we're trying to do. So for example, many of the new tools are able to use an internal API known as BIX, and that provides connectivity directly to the SAP system and SAP BW without the need for the traditional semantic layer from BusinessObjects. Of course, you still can build a universe to your SAP BW, and in certain situations that's actually recommended. So the short answer to this diagram is there's a lot of data connectivity options, so getting access to your data regardless of where it resides is not a significant issue. So I'd like to drill further a little bit on some of the capabilities. So this deals with the Explorer application. So again, Explorer adds it's an application that opens up your BI environment to probably a category of users that has not traditionally been well served, the casual business user. And so it provides the simplicity of a Google-like searching experience, but then also interactivity, and it allows users to easily manipulate and search and filter, analyze the data without having to be formally trained as they might be to use a reporting tool such as Web Intelligence. So these visualizations in Explorer, these can be easily shared with others in the organization, and of course they're secure. So you don't have to worry about information being shared into the wrong hands in your organization. The next feature I'd like to drill down a little bit more on is the mobile business intelligence. And so historically, SAP has provided some moderate support for devices like BlackBerry phones and Windows Mobile and Nokia Symbian phones. And so with the BI 4.0 suite, access has been redesigned, and there are some really interesting applications for the Apple iPad, and there will be support for other tablet devices coming later next year in 2012. And this is a significant capability, so just as Explorer kind of extends your BI environment by opening it up to a casual business user who may not have a lot of training, this really opens up your BI environment to people who aren't normally tied to a desktop in the organization. So this allows you to get business intelligence out into the field securely on mobile devices. And the last capability we'd like to explore a little deeper is lifecycle management. So this was available in the prior release of the BusinessObjects suite, but the previous release still had the import wizard. So customers really had the option to continue to use import wizard or to begin lifecycle management. So with this release, lifecycle manager is integrated fully into the BI 4.0 suite, and this is the primary method to migrate content through a life cycle. It includes version control and rollback. It can be scripted, audited, and as well as it can be scheduled. So you can deploy something automatically, for example, maybe over a weekend. And with the version control and rollback capabilities, you have the ability to quickly return to a prior known state if for some reason some code is released that really shouldn't have been put into production. Okay, so we've reviewed the tools and some of the high-level features, and now let's look at the technical requirements for SAP BusinessObjects. So the BusinessObjects BI suite is a 6-layer architecture. So the foundation is the data tier, and then the primary business intelligence platform, it encompasses the processing, storage, and management tiers of the application. Most of the applications in the suite have a web interface, and so BI 4.0, as with prior releases, includes the Apache Tomcat Web Application Server. And of course, if your organization is standardized on other portals such as IBM's WebSphere or Oracle's Web Application Server, those are also supported. And then lastly, there's a client tier. So applications such as Crystal Reports or the desktop edition of Web Intelligence, as well as the dashboarding tool, those are Windows-based applications that are deployed at the client level. On this next slide, we see the product availability matrix for the Business Intelligence Server. And as you notice, the operating systems listed across the top, again, these are all 64-bit operating systems. So this is a fully 64-bit deployment. So part of your consideration for upgrading is making sure that your hardware is 64-bit ready, and particularly in the case of Windows, that you're using a 64-bit operating system. So a lot of customers in XI 3.1 have 64-bit hardware, but they're still running a 32-bit version of Windows. So you'll want to make sure that your implementation is 64-bit across the board. And then let's look at the product availability matrix for the client components. So fully supported on the Windows Server, so all the client applications can be installed on a server next to the BI platform. And of course, all 3 recent versions of Windows, from XP Professional to Vista and Windows 7, are all supported on the desktop. This slide does not show browser support, but again, most of the suite is web-enabled, and so there is support for Microsoft Internet Explorer and Mozilla, as well as Apple Safari. And so at the web level, all of those browsers are capable of providing support, whether your users are on Microsoft Windows or whether they're on Mac OS. And you'll see here that Mac OS also offers a full client viewing experience for Crystal Reports. Okay, here are the minimum hardware requirements for Windows, and we'll look at Linux and Unix in just a bit. So one of the things you'll also want to plan for is not only is this release 64-bit, but it also likes quite a bit more CPU and RAM than we're used to using in the past. So beginning your deployment with the proper sizing to accommodate the number of users in your organization is definitely going to be key. So you can expect to think about your deployment a little bit differently in terms of the resources that you need to plan for. And then, of course, we see that as well, similar requirements for the Linux operating system. And of course, there's support for both Red Hat and SUSE. And again, memory, some significant memory requirements on the AIX platform as well. And those are the 3 primary server platforms with the release. So Windows 64-bit, Linux, and IBM AIX. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the benefits of the suite. We've seen the features. So let's take a look at some of the benefits and challenges. So a key benefit of this release is the 64-bit architecture. So despite the increased resources that it requires, the 64-bit architecture also provides a lot of scalability. So there's also some of the benefits are that while there are new features in the Central Management Console, which is the admin tool, the Central Management Console retains its familiar interface. A key benefit for organizations using SAP BW, this is probably the #1 reason to begin using BI 4.0 immediately, and that is that all of the client tools are designed to interact with BEX queries without a universe. So this is a really substantial way of reducing your development time and deployment time. So in prior releases of BusinessObjects, a semantic layer known as a universe was always a requirement. And so it was really not something that you really wanted to do. It was just something that was necessary to get your system working. And so now you can bypass the universe entirely and interact directly with BEX queries. Now, there are some compelling reasons to continue to use a semantic layer. And the key benefit there is that data federation is now part of the semantic layer, and it allows organizations to create multi-source universes. So it is now possible to create a universe that spans multiple databases and also multiple database technologies, such as combining relational and OLAP data sources. Another benefit is that your existing universes will still work in the 4.0 platform without modification. So they'll come over correctly with the upgrade management tool, and the designer application is still part of the tool suite. It's simply been renamed the Universe Design Tool. Now there are going to be some challenges to consider, and one of them is the 64-bit architecture. So this is both a benefit and a challenge, and primarily a challenge for organizations that might want to repurpose their existing hardware, but only to find out that their current hardware is 32-bit only. So that can definitely be a challenge, and so that might mean that new 64-bit hardware is part of your budget and project plan for your BI 4.0 deployment. Another challenge is there are increased hardware requirements both in CPU as well as memory for this release. And so getting a sizing initially and understanding how to support your current workload is important. So if your organization is using CPU licensing in particular, you might find that based on your sizing calculations, you're going to need more CPUs to support the workload on 4.0 that you've been historically supporting. Now, another challenge is that this is the first release of the BI suite that no longer includes the desktop intelligence reporting tool. So in 2005, when the XI platform was first released, the then independent BusinessObjects indicated to its users that desktop intelligence was not the long-term reporting tool, and that customers should begin the process of migrating away from it. And so with the XI R2 release, we saw the introduction of the report conversion tool that assisted in the process of converting desktop intelligence documents to web intelligence documents. Now, in prior releases, you could still support desktop intelligence. So we see in 4.0 a slightly different report conversion tool. So this tool knows that desktop intelligence tools are no longer supported in the 4.0 platform. So the report conversion tool extracts desktop intelligence reports from your R2 or 3.1 environment and then translates them into to web intelligence. Now, beginning with XI 3.1, Service Pack 3, there were several new capabilities added to web intelligence, and that had the desirable side effect of increasing the number of reports that the report conversion tool could successfully convert. But do be aware, some organizations already have zero desktop intelligence, so this is not an issue at all. Others have a substantial investment in desktop intelligence and need to consider how to end support for that tool. Now, we said on the previous slide that that your old universes are still fully supported, and that was a benefit. As with most benefits, you'll just want to check the fine print, because some of the newer capabilities in the platform are going to require you to migrate those universes using the information design tool. So just plan for that. If you intend to use Explorer 4.0 or Crystal Reports for Enterprise, which is not to be confused with Crystal Reports 2011, or if you want to use some of the new data connectivity options in Dashboards 4.0, be aware that those only work with the new semantic layer format from the information design tool. And then lastly, one of your challenges will be considering training for redesigned apps. So again, the end user portal, the BI Launchpad, is a substantial redesign. It is easier to use, but when compared to the prior version, does have quite a number of differences. So even if you have casual users that aren't necessarily report creators, but are logging in and refreshing their own reports, there's going to be a minimal amount of training there to get them acquainted with the new Launchpad. The information design tool, the new semantic layer tool, while it still creates universes, it does it with a completely revamped user interface. And so the people in your organization who do universe design are going to need some time to ramp up and potentially some training on this tool. So performing the same behaviors, but using a completely redesigned user experience to accomplish that. And then lastly, the Web Intelligence tool has seen some significant improvements, but that also comes with a bit of a redesign. So the analogy I like to give for Web Intelligence is it's kind of similar to the migration from Office 2003 to Microsoft Office 2007. So Office 2007 brought in a lot of enhancements, and it brought in the ribbon toolbar, but it also made it a little challenging for experienced Office pros to find things. And so just similar issues to be aware of with that application. I would like to share a resource with you, particularly for those of you who are doing a majority of your reporting from SAP NetWeaver BW. So Ingo Hilfert from SAP has just released the second edition of the book Integrating SAP Business Objects with SAP NetWeaver. And so this book has been thoroughly revised to specifically address the BI 4.0 platform. So a lot of the integration is easier, but the integration is also different. And so one of the things that I appreciate is particularly when a tool such as Web Intelligence or Dashboards has multiple ways to interact with SAP BW, Ingo does a really good job of laying out which access method supports which features of BW. So so getting this book and beginning to digest the material would be a good first step in your migration. And it's very thorough, and it also covers all 5 of the primary tools, Crystal Reports, Web Intelligence, Analysis, Dashboards, and Explorer. And it also discusses the Live Office application as well.